Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's session is going to be about Islamic guidelines on spreading information. Now, you might be wondering, why am I covering this? Well, it's actually really important for your lives. These are some of the things that I learned over the years, especially when I was a teenager like yourselves. I didn't know all this information. I didn't know how to handle information, especially from an Islamic point of view. So in this whole session, you're going to see a lot of information which comes from Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it tells us how to really deal with information. So let's start here first with who we're talking about. So you might have, let's say, for example, family member, friend that might be spreading some information to you, for example. It could be about an incident, it could be about a random thing. Now, this is how it goes, did you hear this and so on, and you're receiving it on the other end. Now, what you got to understand is whatever information that's spread to you, it could be, especially if it's bad, but it could be even good news or whatever. But what you want to do is you want to say to yourself, can you get to the original source of info, especially if it's something negative that's been spread. Now, a lot of the times things get spread between people and you want to follow the Islamic principle. So what is it? Well, one of the biggest things that Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Holy Quran in a few places is fatabayyanu. Allah says investigate or clarify or try to make it clear. Okay, so try to get to the bottom of things, try to find out what is actually being said, what's actually being meant by what's been said, and so on. There's a lot to learn here. So even if the information comes from someone who is a sinner, the Quran says, let's say, for example, if there was someone who's usually sinful and therefore they're not trusted, even if it comes from them, the Quran says this. It says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba." O you who believe, if a sinner, fasiq, if a sinner was to come to you with some news, fatabayyanu, okay? So investigate, clarify, make it clear, get to the bottom of things. أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين, lest you were to afflict a people out of out of ignorance, out of not knowing the truth, and فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين, and then you would be regretful over what you did. So look, the word here used, okay, is it's an important word, and there's a reason why this was actually said. This word here, fasiq, okay, is a sinner. Now, why was this used? This was used because some information came, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent someone to a certain, a group of people in a remote village with some news, and because they had some issue with that person, they didn't want to believe that person, although the information that person was giving them was actually the truth from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The person had actually converted to Islam. He had some issues with them before, but because he came to collect some zakah or something else, they didn't want to just believe him. But the Quran says, even in your eyes, if he's a sinner, then you still should remember to do this, which is fatabayyanu. You need to make things clear. Now, breaking this principle causes a lot of problems in situations, as we're going to find out as we move along with these slides. So look, another thing to bear in mind is, even if a friend gives information to you, right, it doesn't mean it's true. Your friend could have misunderstood something, or your friend could be spreading misinformation without even realizing it. Now, understand this. Many a times there have been mistakes made by truthful and sincere people. You have to keep this in mind, okay? So even if a friend was to come to you with information, don't just take straight away, oh yeah, that's got to be true. My friend said it. Oh my God, yeah, my friend said, my friend's always... Look, just stop in your tracks and understand the Quranic principle, which is, look, it's not your friend's fault, right? And this is how we're going to find out how and where. Look, here's your friend, okay? Or you might have a couple of your friends. So what's happened is they gave you certain information, right? Now let's follow this. For example, we'll take this little tracker here. The information came from this person here, who spread it to that person there, to that person here, to this person here, and then there, and then it comes all the way down here, and then it comes to you, right? Now, the source that you only see is your friend, right? This is your friend, and this is the source that you see. You trust this person, right? But the question is not whether you trust this person, it's whether you trust the information. There's a difference between you trusting the person and trusting the information. Because the information didn't come from this person, it came from there. And even if you trust that person, you don't know whether to take the information and say it's all true because it came from this person and then it came from that other person and so on and so forth. The more links in the chain of information, the more likely the information might not be as clear as you've heard it. So, you've got to be careful here in terms of how you're taking the information in, because misunderstanding could have happened or misinformation could have happened in any of these numbers of chains or anywhere down the chain without you even realizing it. Okay, so let's take a couple of incidents in consideration. One is Aisha radiallahu anha. She was a victim of a vicious rumor in her time, where a munafiq called Abdullah bin Ubay, he actually said that she slept with someone. She didn't do it, radiallahu anha. She would never do it. She's an innocent woman, and the Quran cleared her after many nights. Okay, many different days and nights. The Quran eventually cleared her. It was about 22 or something nights, or however long it was. And even the Prophet ﷺ was questioning and saying, Aisha, is there anything you want to say to me? Is there anything you want to say to me? Okay, not accusing her, but asking her for clarification. Now, subhanallah al-azim, this was all spread by one munafiq who was a hypocrite, and he spread it to different individuals. And you can see, just by spreading it out and different individuals start talking about it, just because all these people are talking about something doesn't make it even truer. You've got to get to the source, like I said, and then only you can find out. Now, this whole incident took place. Sahaba were caught up in this rumor. It was a bad mistake of misinformation and misunderstanding of what had been said. Okay, it was false rumor that had spread, and then Allah Azza wa Jal, He said part of the many verses that came down. There were a total of 10 verses that came down in Surah Nur, and this is ayah number 15. Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِذْ تَلَقَّوْنَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ, when you were passing information with your tongues, وَتَقُولُونَ بِأَفْوَاهِكُمْ مَا لَيْسَ لَكُمْ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, and when you were saying with your mouths things that you were not well aware of, you didn't have true knowledge of, وَتَحْسَبُونَهُ هَيِّنًا, and you thought it's a light matter, وَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الْعَظِيمِ وَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمٌ, yet in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal it was something great. So when you hear something, the thing is not to spread the information. There's one of the things about it, that don't just spread the information when you've heard it. And we're going to come back to that in a little later after this other incident. Okay, so what happened here? So we have in the Prophet ﷺ's time, you have the Prophet ﷺ marched with a whole 1,400 Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in. He went to Hudaybiyah, which is a place just outside Makkah on the western side of Makkah. He got stopped there. His elephant got stopped. His camel got stopped there. And the Prophet ﷺ said that, the one who stopped the elephant from going to the Kaaba, or the elephants going to the Kaaba, which was in the time when he was born. If you remember the incident when the Prophet ﷺ was born, and Abraha came from Yemen to try and attack the Kaaba, the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who has prevented the elephants from going to the Kaaba has stopped my camel from coming to the Kaaba. So anyway, the Prophet ﷺ, with all his Sahaba radiallahu anhu, he camped outside. He sent Uthman radiallahu anhu inside Makkah to go and to tell them, please, can you let us come and do Umrah? And this was known as the incident of Hudaybiyah. You should have covered it in one of your early lessons in Safar Academy. But anyway, Uthman radiallahu anhu went inside, and as time went on, okay, the thoughts of people were getting very, very agitated, okay? Okay, so here's time, and as time goes along, it's a perfect place where tension can rise and rumors can spread. So the rumors spread that Uthman radiallahu anhu has actually been murdered, right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he even took this quite seriously, because Uthman radiallahu anhu hasn't returned. Time has gone by, and people are, someone spread the rumor from within the Muslim camp, right? But it got to the ears of everybody. And then what happens is, the Prophet ﷺ, he took a pledge from everyone that they're going to take, they're going to avenge the blood of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Anyway, long story short, what happened is it turned out to be rumor, and Uthman radiallahu anhu came back safely to the Muslims, and then the Prophet ﷺ had the whole agreement of Hudaybiyah done. What do we learn from this incident? We learn that, look, within honest and truthful people, look, Sahaba radiallahu anhu majma'in, 1400 of them and so on, and they're with the Prophet ﷺ, and somebody spreads a rumor. Honest and genuine people sometimes can spread a rumor because of tensions that rise. They didn't mean anything. They just had a suspicion. And there's another thing. Look, suspicions can grow, but not all suspicions should be followed through. And we're going to come back to that a little later on. Okay. So don't spread everything you receive or you hear. Right now. Understand this. I didn't just say receive. I said you hear, and I didn't just say hear. I said you receive. Now, why did I use the word receive? Because in today's world, it's not about just you in a real world. It's the whole social world as well. So the Prophet ﷺ has told us it is enough for a man to prove himself a liar when he goes on narrating wherever he hears. So if you just go and tell everyone everything you hear, you're a liar in the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ. And in the eyes of Allah, you're a liar. Why? Because look, every information that you receive is not always true. If you carry on spreading that, you're going to start spreading some of it, which is actually a lie. So you've got to be careful here, what you're spreading. So that's something the Prophet ﷺ said. Now bear this in mind, especially when it comes to social media. Because when it comes to social media these days, the reason why I said receive and hear is because you could hear something in real life and you could spread it. But when you receive something on social media, you just received it as a text or a video or a message, audio, whatever it is. And you know what? You can just spread it on to the next person without any hesitation. But do you realize that a lot more damage is caused these days through these social media? A lot more damage is caused because info spreads faster and at a rate, right, that in that time for you to check the information is, you're at a great disadvantage of checking that information. Imagine in real life, you can only spread it to a few people, but in WhatsApp, you can spread it, and not just WhatsApp, but social media. Now, look at this, for example, you're in your normal life, okay? This is you. You spread it to one person, two people, three people, okay? Now, what happens is that person could spread it to another three, and that to another three, and that to another three. So you've got 9 people in total, including your 3, which is 12, that this information was spread to. But in social media, the same person with a click of a button, right, you can spread it to tens and perhaps hundreds of people. And each of those people, they're spreading it to other 5, 4, whatever, 10, 12, 20, 100, whatever. You can imagine the impact of this is much, much larger. Now, if you spread some false information, right, even if it's something which you thought was innocent and true and whatever it is, you're actually responsible for that. You're responsible, look, because you probably think, well, I was innocent. I didn't know about this. I didn't know it was true. But guess what? You're caught up in it now. Now that you are a chain, okay, let's go back to this, okay? If you were the person over here, let's say, for example, you're the person, let's take a different color here. Okay, so you're a person who's here, right? So you spread information, right? And your information, went up to this person, right? That person sends it to this person, he sends it to that person, right? And then that person sends it to other people down this way, right? And then they're all spreading it like wildfire in this whole group over here, okay? Right? Whole group over here. Now, you started from over here somewhere, right? You started from here. Now, you can imagine how many links have been created because of your one information. This is spreading like wildfire. And then that person spread it to him, and then he spreads it to him. And this person spreads it to these two, and they spread it to all these other people. Now, all these people here and all these people here have been affected by the one false information which you received from someone maybe here, right? You received it, but you spread it, and they spread it to everyone else, and it became something viral, or you went around to tens or hundreds of people. Well, guess what? You're responsible. on the day of judgment, you're going to be responsible unless Allah Azza wa Jal, in some way forgives you. So be careful in the information that you're spreading. You don't want to just spread everything that you're hearing, right? So look at the impact that you could cause, with the social media. So be mindful of that, of what could actually happen. Right? Even if it's a hadith, sometimes people get a hadith, especially in social media, and they just want to spread it. That's actually quite damaging, because what you're doing is you could be spreading a lie against the Prophet ﷺ if that hadith is fabricated. If it's authentic, then alhamdulillah. If it's of a good chain, of a good value, good ranking, then fine, alhamdulillah, spread it. If not, then you need to be careful of spreading this information, because you're the one who would have spread this, and you're responsible for this. Now, let me give you an example of something that happened in my life, okay, of a rumor that spreads, because this is now misinformation. Sometimes people can misconstrue something in between, where you heard something, but it came from someone else. Now look, this is what actually happened. Here's me, okay? So what happens is, one of my family members tells me, okay, a sister-in-law tells me that, did you hear so-and-so in the family, that just recently they got married, they went to a nightclub. And I thought, what in the world, astaghfirullah, they went to a nightclub? Oh my God, I never expected that. So I said, look, tell me, who gave you the information? So she said, look, this person gave me the information. So I went to the source. I went directly to the source, to that source, and I said, what did you say? And she said, I said, so-and-so got married and they went to a museum at night. So I said, okay, who did you hear of? And they said, okay, we heard of this individual here. So I said, okay, let me go to that source. So I went from there all the way here, and I said, okay, tell me, what did you say? And that family member said, I said, so-and-so got married and they went to a wax museum at night. I said, okay, who did you hear of? And she said, I heard of this person. So I went to that source, and then I said, what did you hear? And she said, well, I heard so-and-so got married. I said, so-and-so got married and they went to Madame Tussauds. Now, Madame Tussauds happens to be a wax museum, if you know that. Now, Madame Tussauds, if you go there at night time, then you've just gone to a wax museum at night time, and the next person spreads museum at night, and the next person translates somehow that museum to be some kind of club, and then it becomes nightclub, because it was nighttime that they went there. Can you see how this information spread, which is false, which puts my other family member, the newlywed, in a really difficult position with this rumor being around? But the fact is that they just went innocently to Madame Tussauds at the evening time or something, and this whole rumor was spread about them. Now, this is to give you information about how rumors can spread and what damage they can actually cause. Now the Prophet ﷺ has told us another thing, which is al-majalisu bil amana. When you're in a gathering, there's a trust between you, and you shouldn't just spread the information of that gathering to other people without having everyone's consent from that gathering, without everyone agreeing that you can spread that information to others. So remember that, al-majalisu bil amana. A secret that you might have is probably best kept. You've got your own secret. It's probably best to keep it to yourself. Just one person should keep that secret, because the moment it goes to another person, secrets can actually leak. Now, be careful with the information that you want to spread about yourself or about others, because they can, become something which might hurt a lot of people, or some people out there. And if someone tells you something and they say, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but that person is actually not a good person to hang around with, because the way they just spread that information to you, most likely they're going to spread some information that you've got to others. Sometimes we need to hold secrets, and you need to be careful in how you handle secrets. So please bear this other thing in mind. I'm going to put it all together in the end, but bear these principles in mind. So far what we've got is, we've had, don't spread anything that you've heard. We've had, how to, can you get to the original source? We've had about not spreading information, not spreading anything that you've heard, to get to the bottom of the issue, to be careful of how, and to understand how rumors and misinformation and so on spreads, to keep trust with what you've been given as information, and be careful who's actually spreading information to you and whether they can be trusted as well. Now we come to another part which is really big in the Sharia, which is about assumptions and suspicions and assumptions, because the Prophet ﷺ, has warned us about this. The Quran warns us about this, where the Quran in Surah Hujurat, ayah number 12, it says, "Inna ba'da dhanni ithmun." Certain suspicions, surely certain suspicions are sinful. And the Quran has told us, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu jtanibu kathiran min al-dhann." In the same ayah, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "O you who believe, beware of much suspicion that is out there, because some of it could actually lead to sin." And we know it can be the evil mother of all mistakes once you start to have suspicions and so on. Now, what will happen, or why have I told you all of this? And you're going to see this, whether it's in school, college, whether it's in the home life, whether it's later on in your work life, in your family life, in your married life, whatever, later on. You're going to see in any of these situations, you could be, you could be on a social media platform, you could be in a family situation. So in life, you will see, you'll be in situations where several people have broken these rules. These simple rules I've given to you, if we keep them in consideration and if we follow them, then you're going to save a lot of people from trouble and you'll save yourself from trouble. But if you don't follow them, now let's just take a certain example here, okay? So let's just say, for example, someone here has got their mum, the dad here, okay? That's one unit. You've got your auntie and uncle there, you've got your brother and sister there, there's you there, and there's your wider family. Now, you've got to understand, between your mother and father, between your uncle and aunt, there's some history and some bias that might have crept in the past, right? So they kind of have their own problems between them. Your mother and father and the wider family, there's probably been a past emotions somewhere along there. So that's also there in the past. Here's you, simple, innocent you, and you might have had an incident with your brother, let's just say your brother or sister. There's been some kind of incident here, right? Now, your auntie and uncle, they might be talking about this incident in a certain way, right? So they've got this certain way, because perhaps it might be because of the history and some kind of bias that they've got between your parents, which actually muddles things up in how they see this incident. And then that thing might be spread to the wider family, right? Now, it's not going to be very good that this thing has spread. And your mom and dad are concerned when they hear this somewhere. Oh my God, they're talking about my family like this. They're talking about my siblings like this. And you want to jump in. You want to say, well, hang on a minute. My brothers and sisters, they're innocent because of this, da. I don't know how they got this information. And I don't know why the family is spreading this. And your mother and father might have some kind of, tension, whatever. Or they might come directly to brothers and sisters. What have you guys been up to and so on? And you get caught in the middle of all of this. Now, look, stop, right? The whole point of sharing all of this to you is this is just one incident, one thing that I'm just spreading with you, just sharing with you. But really, it could have happened with your friends, families, college life, school life, because sometimes there's a number of people, and what they're all doing is they're not following all these rules. So you stop everything, and this is what you do. Number one, whenever you get into the situation, first stop spreading information. You need to stop spreading all this information about one another. Number two is investigate, right? Which we've done before. Fatabayyanu, the Quran has said. Number three is go to the source. If you can, go to the source and ask questions to source. Who said what? Where did it come from? What is it? Now check for accuracy. So you don't want any misinformation. You don't want any misconstruing, or you don't want no misunderstanding of what actually might have been said by so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, right? Then you check for bias and emotions as well. Sometimes you have to check, look, people have got certain emotions involved, or so they've got certain bias involved. And because of that, they can't see the truth as they're supposed to see the truth. So you might need to deal with that. And then you've got to kill the suspicions that people might have had from beforehand, or they have right now. And then only can you, get to the truth. But when you get to the truth, you want to be wise in how you deal and you spread the truth. Just because now you come to the truth, it's no time now for you to be a hero and then to go straight to auntie and uncle and say, how dare you spread all that information? Or to your mom and dad, oh my God, mom and dad, I can't believe you guys did. Or to your wider family, oh my God, or to your brother and sister, whoever might be right or wrong. Just because you've got the truth doesn't mean that you always have to blurt out and make the truth clear to everyone. Sometimes you need to be wise in how you handle the truth, because sometimes once you've got to the truth, it could be sensitive to certain people, or it could put certain people in a very low position and they might be embarrassed. Let's say, for example, in this case, the aunt and uncle got it wrong. they got wrong information, they spread about your brother and sister, which went to your wider family, which your mother and father got involved in, and now you found the truth with all the information that I've given you here. Well, you want to be careful, because if you then confront your auntie and uncle and tell them the truth as it is, there might be further new emotions that might come up, and they might not really like to be put in that position. Maybe they've learned their lesson. Maybe people have learned the lesson in this. Maybe sometimes it's good to allow people to learn what they've learned and then move on. You don't need to always shove the truth in people's faces. And remember, if you're ever in a situation where you don't know whether you should do it or not, or, oh my God, if I do this, then I get hurt. If I do that, I get hurt. Then remember the Prophet ﷺ's advice, which is, the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha radiallahu anha, says that whenever he used to be in a situation like that, he used to always choose the lesser of the two evils. So imagine, if it was bad if you chose this, or bad if you chose that, then the Prophet ﷺ would weigh both situations, and he would take whichever one would have the least harm in it. Okay, so this information which I've given to you, it should really help you with your life ahead. So let's quickly recap what we've said here. Get to the original source, investigate, clarify, and so on. Remember, whether it's a sinner or whether it's your friend, the truth is something which is separate from that. And understand how things can spread with misinformation, somebody misunderstanding something. Think of what happened to Aisha radiallahu anha with the rumor that was spread about her, or Uthman radiallahu anhu about his death, a false rumor about his death. And then, how we receive or hear information. Don't just spread it. If you just hear it, you spread it, you could be causing a lot of damage. And be careful, about rumors. Okay, so this was an example I gave you about rumors. And secrets and so on, and whether it's spread to you or whether you spread it out. Be careful with information that someone's given to you as an amana. Okay, suspicions are something really, really, important for you to bear in mind. That don't have suspicions about others, and don't just say, oh, that guy must have done it, or that guy must have done it, or he must have said something, or she must have said something. It creates a lot of harm, okay? And in the end, if you're ever caught in a situation, follow these rules, which is stop spreading information, investigate, go to the source, check the accuracy, remove the bias and emotions, kill the suspicions where you can, and when you get to the truth, be wise in how you spread the truth, okay? May Allah Azza wa Jal give us tawfiq for all of this. Jazakumullah khair wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.